Good morning, y'all. Let me apologize right away for all the bouncing. You're in my lap, so there's not much I can do about it, but I got a lot going on in my head this morning, so I thought I'd make a video. It is Thursday, February 27, 2020, and I'm on my way to work, and it's a beautiful day. Well, maybe not. It's kind of overcast, but I don't know. It's not snowing, and it's not negative temperatures. So my thermometer on my truck actually says 8 degrees, but it should be about 12 by the time I get to work, between 12 and 14. We tend to be like 7 degrees colder at my house than we are at my work, which is kind of crazy because it's only an hour drive, but it is what it is. Anyway, so I've been thinking about a lot of stuff lately, and I don't know. On one hand, it's like I have all this advice for, people that other people have said and other people know, and your mama's told you, but I just feel like the more we put it out there, the more we can reach people. So, yeah. Still on the plant-based diet. I will admit that I cheat slightly. So like Lay's potato chips, I grab a bag of those once in a while at work, and while they are potatoes, they are fried in oil, so and they have preservatives and all kinds of crazy nasty shit. But sometimes I just need the salty crunchy, and yeah, so. And then the other night I had a coffee from Caribou that had, I think it had whipped cream in it. It definitely had whipped cream. And probably the chocolate in it was milk chocolate, so. But, if that's the worst I'm doing, then that's okay. Not that I'm trying to, hold myself to any kind of, I don't know. I'm not getting graded. I fully believe that, the healthier you can go, the healthier you can go as possible, the better. And speaking of which, actually, let me interrupt my original thoughts. There's a plant-based group on Facebook, and there was a post this morning about a gentleman whose wife has cancer, but she hates vegetables and would live off of barbecue steak if she could. And I just thought that was interesting reading that, because I had always said if I ever got diagnosed with cancer, I would go strictly to plant-based. And then, of course, like I said in the other video, I realized, why wait until I, have a death sentence to do that? So it's kind of crazy to me that she is facing death, essentially. She already has a diagnosis of cancer, and her mind still doesn't want to be like, you know what, I might not like vegetables, but this is, well, maybe it's just a lack of education. Maybe she just doesn't know all the research and all the proof. Someone did suggest that she read the China study, which that was kind of my first, not invitation, but that was the first thing I heard that made me look at it closer as far as meat goes. And it was basically summed up to me. I haven't read the China study. I do plan to at some point, but I haven't read it. But basically it was summed up to me that they did this study in China, and they studied meat proteins and vegetable proteins with cancer, and the cancer cells that were being fed meat proteins, thrived and grew and multiplied, and the cancer cells that were being fed vegetable proteins shrank and died away. So that alone was enough research for me to know that there's been a study done, and in that case it was pretty black and white, and so that's when I started looking into it deeper, and first started getting educated about our food, especially in the United States. So, yeah, just thought that was really interesting, and it makes me really sad for him that he seems to know some of that data, and maybe she does too, and still is choosing that that's not the route she wants to go. So I don't know. Anyway, and then my other thoughts were about, I had a trainee this week that is he's a real wild card, man. He's something. He's got quite the personality, and things I kept saying to him, he was like, man, that's what my mom says. So he actually nicknamed me Mama Too, because apparently a lot of the things I was saying was kind of mama related. And I guess I do it not even realizing. I've always had that kind of nature, and my daughter does already too, and she's only 18, but it's not even like the nurturing side of the mama. I'm more of the get your act straight kind of mama. So, you know, he was talking about the friends that he'd had that when things were good, they were all about it, and then when things weren't so good, all of a sudden they didn't want to return any of the favors that he had extended to them. And I was explaining to him that, you know, as you get older and you have life experiences like that, those things kind of layer on each other and add to your knowledge base and add to your experience base, where you start to see those red flags much sooner than you used to. And as soon as someone says something that's a little sketchy and you're like, meh, I've heard that before. Wait a minute. It'll make you step back a lot sooner and take a bigger, closer look at what kind of person you're dealing with. And that's why a lot of older people don't necessarily have a lot of friends, because there's so few genuine people. Not that they're not genuine, but like, I feel like if you don't click with somebody in a certain kind of way, then the depth of the relationship that you're going to have with them is only going to be so deep. But if you really connect with someone that might be from your soul tribe, or, you know, you just really click with someone, and that friendship's going to be a lot deeper, and those are the kind of people that are really going to have your back. They're really invested in you as a human being, not what you can do for them or when things are good and let's go party. So yeah, it's interesting, some of the things that were said, and then, you know, kind of relating that to how my life has gone, and why I don't really hang out with anybody outside of work. I haven't found those people in a very long time, and those friendships I do have, they all live far away. So yeah, it's interesting to hear it from a younger person's point of view, you know, and be able to relate to that. And it's one of those things to keep in mind if you're a younger person. Like, take those experiences you've had, and bad things happen, you know, as a lesson, in my opinion. And so that kind of got me thinking about some of these young kids that are like wanting to kill themselves, and, you know, things like that, friendships that are lost, or, you know, friendships that they thought were one thing and turn out to be something else, and that just devastates them, and they feel like nobody really cares about them. But it's not that nobody really cares about you, it's that those aren't your people. That's all it is. There's so many people in this big wide world, and maybe you're stuck in a small, you know, secluded area where you don't have a lot of options, or you don't have a car to get out and meet people, and you don't have, you know, create those experiences. Go to school, go to, you know, if you're in school, of course, obviously that can be a little different, but I feel like there's people for everybody. And even if there's nobody in your area or in your world that you feel like you have those kind of connections with, someday you're going to be old enough to go out and about in the big wide world, and there are plenty of people out there that are going to be your people. And you have to just get through this time and learn those lessons and get out into the bigger, wider world and recognize those people when you do come across them. And sometimes even that doesn't work out. You know, I've come across a couple people that were definitely my people, but because of the situation, we aren't able to be friends, basically. And that's okay. I can still wish them well from afar, and I can still love them, and I can still hope the very best for them. But what's your world right now doesn't have to always be your world, and it's definitely not worth ending your life over. There's so many people in this world. It's ridiculous, really. Just like with a relationship, you know, if a relationship ends and you felt like she was the only one for you or he was the only one for you, it's just not true. It's just not true. Look at, you know, people that get married multiple times, 5 times, you know. For them, they felt like 5 different people were the one. Maybe they weren't, but it still happened 5 times. There's so many people in this world that you can't say that one person was the only person for you in the whole wide world. And that's the only person that would ever make you happy. It's not a thing. That's you telling yourself bullshit, basically. So, if a relationship has crushed you, or the lack of a relationship has you feeling like you aren't good enough and don't deserve anything good in this world, then you're just lying to yourself, and you need to take a step back and realize the bigger picture is so much bigger than your little tiny ability to see in front of you right now. And that's all it is your vision, mental vision has narrowed to a point where you can't see any other options. But there are so many other options. There's so much out there in the wide world. You know, there's people out there that do what I do, and they get up and they go to work and they come home and they go to bed, and they get up and they go to work and they come home and they go to bed, and they're okay with that, and I'm okay with that. I like my routine. I like stability. I like knowing what's happening tomorrow. You know, I like knowing what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then there's those people that go out there and they travel the world, and they go to all kinds of restaurants, and they go to concerts, and they go to this and that and the other, and that's what they want. That's what they crave. And if that's what you crave, then you just have to make it happen. You have to step back and get focused and be like, all right, what do I need to do to make this happen? And it might take a minute. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a month or 2 months necessarily. But you can make a goal that by next year you're going to do this, or by 2 years you're going to do that, depending on what it is. There's so many options, and only you can make the choice to make those choices along the way that get you there. If you're not making those choices and you're content just sitting and grumbling about your life and how bad it is, and every time you turn around you've got something negative to say, and nothing that's good that happens to you is ever good enough, then that's on you. That's not on anything else. That's on you. That's your job to step back and look at that and decide that you need to make different choices, and you need to think a different way. You need to change your perspective. I came across a guy on my online game that I play, and he kind of immediately attached to me, and I gave him a little bit of tough love in that regard, but that was pretty much who he is. It didn't matter what I said, he shot it down. It didn't matter what kind of hope I tried to give him or ideas I tried to give him, he shot it down. And eventually I added him on my Facebook, and kind of out of curiosity. And sure enough, everything he posts on Facebook is negative. He's got something negative to say, you know, and it's about his perspective, and I tried to tell him that, you know. And he posts something one day about, I just want to be happy, is that too much to ask, or something like that. And all I said was, it starts with you. I didn't say anything else. I just said one sentence. And he deleted me and blocked me. Like, really? He's so caught up in his misery loves company. He just wants people on his Facebook that are going to join in his misery and add to his misery by commiserating about how awful his life is and how unfair it is. And if you aren't on that train, then he doesn't want you in his life. And it's sad, because he's going to spend the rest of his life. Oh, and to mention, he talks about killing himself all the time. But that's because he refuses, obviously, to change his perspective. He refuses to look in the mirror and go, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe in all of these situations and all this bad shit that's happened to me and keeps happening to me over and over, I'm the common denominator. Maybe I'm the one that needs to change, not the rest of the world. The rest of the world is going to do what it's going to do, but you have the power to decide how you navigate it and how you look at it and how you go through it. Nobody else has that power but you. And if you can take 5 seconds to stop and bring your brain back a minute and look at the bigger picture and make that decision or look at it from a different angle, your whole life can change. You know, I've talked about previously on my videos that I used to suffer greatly from depression. And I can't pinpoint any one thing that changed it, but I do know that when my perspective changed and I started looking at the bigger, broader picture, and I started looking at people different and situations different and bad things as a lesson versus something bad happening to me, and deciding that when something bad or negative did happen, that I could learn something from it, my whole world changed. I haven't had to deal with depression in a very, very, very long time now. Unfortunately, it hasn't been so successful for my anxiety, but I actually feel like my anxiety is a biological thing. Not that it can't be stopped, but it's literally like something that my body's just biologically doing possibly because of the diet I had been living. So I'm hoping that as this plant-based diet goes along, I could very well see a huge reduction in my anxiety, which would be beautiful. But I've never let my anxiety stop me either. A lot of times when I'm having a high anxiety day, I would rather just sit in my room quietly and read a book or do my little projects or whatever, but I don't have that option. I have an obligation to my work, and I have an obligation to my family to help pay the bills and to, clean the house and whatever the case is. But I do allow myself, if it's bad enough, I do allow myself to sit and do nothing all day. Not call out to work, but like if I've had a really high anxiety week, and the weekend comes, I don't put any pressure on myself to get anything done on the weekend. I just let my body rest, let my mind rest, and let myself mentally recover a little bit from my high stress week. And you know what? The world didn't come crashing down because of it, and it won't. So, changing the way you look at things and changing the way you approach things can make all the difference in the world. So I hope that this little rant, or whatever you want to call it, motivational speech, can reach somebody. Because if I can, that's part of the goal of my channel, is to say something at some point that helps change somebody's life. Because it's those little moments that helped change my life. All the way back to when I was 17, 18, and I had that boyfriend that I was very in love with and thought that he was the one. And he basically ended the relationship. There was a couple different reasons, but the main one that he cited was that I was so negative all the time, and I was bringing him down. I never had anything positive to say. And I was whining all the time, complaining and whining. And I will never be able to thank him enough for being honest and open with me about that, because it changed. That was where it started, where I started realizing that I really did come across that way. And that's not fair to the people around me. Period. Not only is it not good for me, but it's not good for the people around me. And that's not fair to them. They didn't, why would I expect anybody to want to be around me if I'm constantly bringing them down with my negativity? And so I lost something that was important to me because of my bad attitude. And because that I hadn't had that mirror put up in front of me yet to show me that that I was behaving in a way that could have been improved. And so I did. And my goal became to change it drastically enough that he wanted to date me again. And I did succeed in that, but we never dated again. And I'm glad, because he's been with his wife for, I don't know, 6-7 years, maybe more. And when I stalk them on Facebook, they look happy as can be. I mean, pictures can be deceiving, but I really feel like the girl that the lady, the woman, whatever, we're all adults now, but the woman that he ended up with was a much better fit for him than I was. Is a much better fit for him than I was, or am. So I'm glad that things worked out the way they did, but it also gave me a chance to improve myself. And those are the moments that I took a lesson from and have gotten me to where I am now. Even though, where I'm at now isn't like super impressive to some people. I'm not a CEO or, a doctor or curing cancer, but I can help someone. And if I can help someone, then that's more than worth it to me. So, all right, y'all. I know there was another topic, but I can't think of it now. I got all discombobulated from that topic, so traffic's getting a little heavier, so I'm going to end the video, and I will talk to y'all later. Everybody have a good weekend if I'm not back tomorrow. Stay safe, make good choices, be kind to each other, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!